Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. I'm really sorry last time we had some internet issues and the stream cut out so you couldn't really follow. Today we improved that situation. We also are recording the stream just in case there are issues again so we can figure it out and monitor it. So welcome, and I thought I'd do this kind of video and Q&A because we had over 100,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So thank you very much for your support. And when we started a few years back, that seemed far away, but apparently you like some of the things that we do. So thanks for spreading the word. It's very helpful for us to reach a larger audience so we can help more men. Now, as you can see probably, this is not the usual space. It's because we moved into a new house, and we came here because this is a very large, nice office space. As you can see here, we have about 1,000 square foot in one room, and it's like 10-foot ceilings. So this will be the place where we film all of our videos, where we're going to do the photography, and so it's very exciting for us actually to have all of that. And it took us a while to find a place like that because we want the light from the top, and so this is perfect. Of course, it's a big room, so yesterday I had to soundproof some things because there's central air conditioning, and it's always different. But when we started filming the videos, we actually lived in a condo building. And so there was a porter's room because the building was from 1916, and he used to shovel coal and do the laundry, and so he had his own room, and that's what we used for our videos. So all the videos you've seen up until this point were filmed in that basement room. And while that was okay, it was quite small. So every time we wanted to do something different, we had to rearrange the entire lighting. So here it's going to be a lot better. Last Monday during the video, we already got lots of questions. And so I'm going to go through some of them, but please ask new questions. We will intersperse them, and I'll try to answer all of them today. Simply because I think it's a great way to connect with you and just show you that, we didn't just end up at that point. It was a slow progression. We made mistakes. We had issues where things didn't work out the way we wanted to. And these are just things you have to overcome. So how did you get started with a website? Well, I came from Germany. I got married to my wife, and I applied for a green card. And in that time period, until you get your work permit, you're not allowed to work. So I just started with a website because classic men's clothing was my hobby, and it was just a good way to have an outlet for it. And then by the time I got the work permit, we had already advertisers, and the economy was really bad at the time. So I figured, hey, why not create this website? And I learned that you could make a decent living off of it if you do it for 5 years consistently and do it really well. And so then that really worked out for us. And then people ask us, hey, where are you getting these products from? And I would say, hey, it's from a flea market in Vienna. And so I had to simply tell them that, right? And it wasn't helpful. So we decided, hey, why couldn't I create and design products and then sell them to people? So that way I wouldn't just have to tell them, hey, there's something unattainable that's really nice, but actually you can buy it right here. And rather than using Gentleman's Gazette as our brand name, we decided to use Fort Belvedere because, Gazette has a kind of newspaper aspect to it, and we felt like that publishing aspect wouldn't be quite so well for a brand. And Fort Belvedere was a residence of the Duke of Windsor, which is very well known for his style, and they had glamorous parties there. And so we thought it was a cool connection basically between the style. And my wife always said, oh, I want something with an English country house. And so it was a good combination of both. What was your personal favorite Fort Belvedere product? That's actually really hard to tell because obviously, I'm designing all of those products, and I do that because I like them or I feel that they're not around. So I guess some things that I'm particularly proud of are the ones that are not so easily available otherwise or not available at all. For example, we do our single end bow ties, right, that you can't find anywhere else. We do also all of our black bow ties with a fixed sizing in different shapes, and to my knowledge, this is the largest selection you can find anywhere in the world. So that's what I'm proud of. Also, things like like the cufflinks that we made and designed, and I was part of the process from like a wax block to that final product, and sourcing the different things and understanding how casting works, and it's very exciting, but it's a lot more steps than what you might think, and that's why we talk a little bit about it when we talk about our cufflinks. Same thing with the boutonnieres, the lapel flowers. I just don't wear one today because the lapel is quite slim, and also I haven't quite assorted and unpacked everything from when we moved here, so next time I'll wear one again. Since you've clearly improved your abilities both in front of the camera and editing the videos, would you consider remaking some of your older videos? Well, definitely. If you check out our first video, I think it was 50 Things About Me, and it was very slow. We filmed it at our living room then, and the light changed, and I just didn't know how to be the real me in front of the camera, because it's actually quite difficult, and most people don't realize that if they're just the way they are in real life, it looks super slow and boring, so you intentionally have to kind of be more active in front of the camera, just so it looks like when you talk to the person in real life. And we did a lot of videos that, I thought would stand the test of time and be there forever. Now, obviously, we could remake some of those, and I think as we progress, we'll redo some older ones, but have a strong emphasis on covering new topics that we haven't discussed yet, because you can still watch the old one, the content is still there, and yes, we could improve it, but maybe we'll make a spin-off video of that. Do you fear that as Gentleman's Gazette grows, you will lose the quality and boutique nature that current subscribers like? Well, growth always means that you have to hire more people, and in the beginning, I started like that, and I think most people do. You do everything yourself, right? And then you get to the point where it's just overwhelming, and you just feel like you're close to a burnout because you're publishing articles every day, you answer all these emails, and the day only has so many hours, and you may neglect your family and your spouse simply because you focus everything on the business. And that's the point where you have to realize, wow, I need help. And for me, the first thing was to outsource like accounting, because A, I sucked at it, and B, I hated it, and so it was just the first thing for me to outsource. And then talking to Antonio Centeno from Real Men Real Style, I learned that he had used assistants, and so I jumped on that bandwagon, and that was really helpful because I could teach them and they could get stuff done that needed to be done, but that I necessarily wouldn't have to do. And so as we grew, my wife joined the team, we have a video editor now, we have another assistant, and we have 2 customer service people that can help answer emails. And as we got emails, we realized, wow, there's so many spam emails, so many PR emails that are totally not related to what we do. So we had to implement a ticketing system that allowed us to provide really good customer service by filtering out all these crappy emails and develop all of these processes. So I think as we grew, you were actually getting a better experience now that's more boutique-y. Than if I would just do everything myself, because then you would not get a reply for 3 months or never. So I can see that as you grow, you're less involved, but we try to have core values internally for our employees to show them what we want them to do. And even though I can't answer it, they answer it in my spirit, basically. And then we also, we have that strong belief that everything we do is about quality. And that's above all. And as long as I'm the CEO of the company, we're not going to change that. If we'd ever sell the company, for example, yes, that may be different. If you have a different CEO, if you have different owners, they may look at different things. But we never built the Gentleman's Gazette and Fort Belvedere to do that. So at this time, I don't foresee that to be a problem. You're from Germany. Nice. Do you want to start in German too? Well, actually, the Gentleman's Gazette started in German and in English because I thought it was a competitive advantage for me to be able to write in German and in English. Well, down the road, I realized the kind of core audience I'm talking to in Germany speaks English very well, so they can understand me. And so the market was just much smaller, and rather than writing something in German and in English, I could just write two things in English and still satisfy that market. So at this point, I don't think I'll do an entire German channel, because especially for video, it would be a lot of work and difficult to do, and you can understand it. There's a good school system over there, so everyone speaks English, and consider it a great way to just learn what's going on. Where do you get the history of the clothes? Where do you do the research? Good question. Actually, if you look over here, we have like 3 big bookshelves full of books. And that's what I did. I started collecting vintage men's fashion magazines and books, and I just hoarded them basically. Then I would also go to libraries and go through old magazines. I would digitize them. I would sometimes spend 2 to 4 weeks in libraries just taking pictures over and over again until my neck hurt and my back hurt. But I have all of these archives now that I can use to research and look at old styles from the 1930s. And I have magazines from England, from Austria, from Italy, from Germany, from the US. And so it's interesting to see style similarities and differences. And I also found that these old books are sometimes just intensely knowledgeable. There's a lot of great knowledge in there, especially in Germany. And although some things you have to do and touch to really understand, the books can help immensely. I found a great guide, on hats that talks about the proportions of the face and the brim size and the crown height. All these things you just never even hear about today. So we'll take that and use modern graphic design and make it consumable for you guys. So stay tuned for that. And that's basically where I get my information from. It's from the 1930s, from the 20s, magazines, books. And of course, I also visit craftsmen and talk to them. But I find you can learn less in-depth information that way than with books and magazines. Would you start a warehouse in Europe? Good question. Actually, it's something that we have thought about in the past. It's just a step that requires considerably more in terms of logistics, because now you have one shop, but you have 2 inventory centers. And inevitably, you have more products. You'll have products out of stock in one warehouse that are now in the other warehouse, and people want that from there. And I understand it would be easier for consumers in Europe not having to deal with customs and stuff. At the same time, logistically, it's quite expensive for us to do that, and it requires an investment. Our software is set up so we can handle it, but at this point, we just need to scale up a little more for it to make sense so we can handle it. It's definitely something that's on the roadmap, but probably won't happen in the next year or 2. I'd love to hear a bit about the design process for Fort Belvedere Products, and how do you go about finding such niche manufacturing processes? All right, so, I start with, usually, if I find something that I see in these old magazines where I'm like, wow, this is amazing, right? Why is that not around anymore? Or if I just can't find it. So it all starts with things usually anchored in the 1930s, 1920s, or something where I feel like, hey, this has come a long way, but why couldn't we do it this way or that way? For example, when with the bow ties, I would read, in Bernhard Rötzel's gentleman book, a black tie bow tie should have a fixed neck size, because then you can untie it, and if you wear a detachable collar, it can be visible. But it was super hard to find them. And then I found one store, and they had this one bow tie. And I found another store, and they had the exact same bow tie, so there was just one shape. And I felt like, wow, we got to change that. Or when we, for example, do our boutonnieres, I go to nature and I look at flowers and say, hey, I want something like this. I want it in a lapel, shape size. And then I go through the process and trying to find some vendors. And once I find these craftsmen, I always look for the best quality. So we don't care if you are in Peru, in Germany, in England, in Italy, or in Vietnam. We look what kind of quality you can put out on a consistent level. And once we have that, we really get quality things. And so we constantly improve our products. And then I always want to visit the manufacturers at their facility, not at trade shows, but at their facilities, because I can see what they do, I can see their passion for it, I can see their processes, I can see who they employ and what kind of skill goes into it. And so it's really great to see that. So design processes are just very long. And once I'm at that stage, we'll have a prototype. Once the prototype is ready and I like it, then I use it and I test it. For example, with the socks, I wore them for a long time. I didn't want them to slide down. I washed them over and over again. I, used them sitting a lot. I used them just in everyday life when I go to trade shows and all those things. And then once it passes that test where we say, yes, this is a good product, it stands the test of time, then we start production runs and they're going to be available to you basically. Do you feel there's a limit on the content you can deliver? It seems overwhelming, and I think we've written about 1,000 posts. So now I can say, hey, we have these 1,000 posts, we have 150 videos. That means I could do a video about every post. On top of that, I could do a lot more videos. So even though it may seem there is kind of a cap to what you can do, at this point, I really don't quite see that yet. And it's the same thing, for example, with all the fashion illustrations. I have so much material in these bookshelves that I can use and make like good videos and good content out of it. So I don't see that, no. Will you ever produce bespoke products? Well, bespoke products are nice because you can really decide what you want very specifically and what you don't want. What that requires generally, though, is a very high educational level of the consumer, the customer. For example, when you do a jacket, I can ask you, hey, do you want your sleeve head, do you want these two ends of the fabric folded this way, folded down this way, or split up, one this way and one that way? And most people are like, I don't know, you tell me. And it could be like a subject where we guide the customer and say, well, for your shoulders, we think this would be better. It's just an entirely different business model. It's basically me using my time to help one person at the time. What we're doing right now is I can do this video, for example, and I can do an educational video, and I can help 100, 200 people at a time. For example, our How to Tie a Bow Tie video was watched probably over 600,000 times, and it's on track to be 1 million. I could have never taught 1 million men to tie their bow tie. With a video, I can do that. So we try to find the sweet spot between quality and having different sizes, such as in socks, that you don't necessarily need the bespoke level, because the bespoke level would only give you maybe, the color choices. But doing bespoke socks would be extremely expensive because you would have to set up the machine and everything just for one pair of socks. So one pair of socks would cost $1,000, right? Doesn't make sense if I can get a very similar model for $40 that has really high quality yarns that are finely knitted, socks that last and stay up. So I don't see us at this point going into bespoke, except maybe for rings. I'm thinking about doing some pinky rings, and there, stocking, let's say, sterling silver or gold on a mass scale would be super costly and not make sense. So I could see us doing kind of a custom model in that way. How much time does it take to write an article on average? It really depends. If I write the article and let's say it's a fashion illustration and I can just, go through my knowledge and what I know and tap through it, it can be quicker. Let's say that'll take 4 hours. But then, you have to have the picture editing, you have to do the emails, all the things that go into it, the social promotion and so forth. That's also time that comes on top of that. If you write an article on leather, for example, right? And I have to take out my books and look at everything I know, plus do additional research, that can take a lot longer. So if you have guides, about sweaters or cashmere, those are posts that require a lot more time to produce. Personal favorite for the Belvedere product, I think we mentioned that before. I think I love all of them, but one thing that I really am proud of is our boutonnieres, because no one else in the world does those. It's a company that's special. We found them and they used to make those, but in a very different context. And so I helped them do those things. And that's just a one-of-a-kind item that you can find. And you can check out the video, I think, how a boutonniere is made on our channel to really appreciate that. Do you ever think that you will start your own clothing line with shirts, suits, and jackets? Yes. I think we will add that to Fort Belvedere as a line, but we're currently, still expanding our accessories line. For example, we're gonna add belts. We're gonna add suspenders, but it's not just regular belts. We try to have the best quality leather on both sides that we can find, and then it's going to be an adjustable system that you can use, so you can exchange the buckles, which is helpful because then you can have a brown belt and a black belt, maybe 4 different buckles, which gives you 8 combinations rather than just 2 belts. So it's easy to travel, it's good for the environment, and since the qualities are top notch, you can do that and they will last for a long time. We're also currently working on vest prototypes because I feel there's just a lot of bad cut vests out there, and I want to do really nice ones, evening vests with the right cutout, double-breasted, single-breasted, some with an open back for evening and stuff, because it's usually hot and you don't take off your jacket anyways. So things like that we want to do. And then the next step would probably be overcoats, because I think there is a big gap for great stylish overcoats. And then, as we progress and gain experience in that, I can see us doing shoes and suits and jackets. Do you have plans to expand to retail or create your own stores? Good question. We thought about it, and in the beginning, I never wanted to be in retail because I didn't want to stand in the store and sell something to someone, because again, it's not so scalable. I have to wait for customers to walk in, and then inevitably, you have nobody coming in all day, and then 10 people at once, and then 9 leave because they feel like you don't treat them well. And so it can be a very frustrating experience. As we've grown, I can see us going into like a store model, having our own stores, if we can have a clear structure so I don't have to personally be involved in the store. The problem with it is it's a huge capital investment, and you need to exactly find the right location, and that requires a lot of work. Also, I think the online is working for us, and I'm a master of that rather than be a jack of all trades and master of none. And I don't say we're not going to do that. It's just an entirely different business model. And same with retail. If we go to a retailer, like a small boutique haberdashery, for example, right? And let's say we create ties, right? So I design the fabric, then we will do a test run. So I pay for that. Then we have the test run of the fabric. Then we make the prototypes. Then we show that to retailers. Then they order it. Then I have to pay for the fabric. That's printed. Then I have to pay for the production. Then once the product is done, it's delivered to the customer. Now they want payment terms of 90 days, 120 days. Then when they end up paying, maybe more like 180 days. So at the end of the day, I'm financing this entire production for a year almost. So let's say they go out of business, I lose all of my money. So then all of a sudden you're more in the banking business than in the clothes business. And that's not something I want to do at this point in time. Do you only wear Fort Belvedere, or do you wear all kinds of brands? Well, first of all, Fort Belvedere right now is not a full clothing line, and it's for accessories. So do I have a lot of Fort Belvedere accessories? Yes, simply because I test everything. So I have all the prototypes, I have all of these things, but then also some other ties because it's nice to wear. But I also have lots of other things. For example, I have a lot of vintage ties because I love the inspiration. I love the old fabrics, the old madder silks, the old jacquard silks. So I take that and say, hey, I want to do something like that. And it all comes from past products that are really stylish. And I take the best of both worlds, because we offer the ties in 3 sizes. So you can get that benefit, but you can get a fabric that you otherwise couldn't find. So no, I wear lots of other products, that are not Fort Belvedere. I think today Fort Belvedere is like my cufflinks, my tie, my pocket square. This is a Ralph Lauren purple label. This is I think, James Mead. It's an English shirt. So it's different. Are you looking to tap private equity firms or other large sources of capital for the next leg of growth for Gentleman's Gazette? Interesting question, because yes, as you grow, you need a lot of cash. You need to hire people, you need to increase your stock levels. Things can go wrong. You need insurance. You need to rely on things. So yes, that requires a lot of capital. And sometimes it seems the easy way to go with an equity firm, that give you money so you can grow quickly and basically grow the pie bigger so your slice gets bigger. But the key point is you just get a slice of that, right? So with giving away or with getting money, you lose a lot of control. They may have very different interests. They may have short-term goals of just getting, returns quickly, which oftentimes means, the product, we sell it at the same price, but we diminish the quality of the materials that go into it, thus lowering the price and thus increasing the margin. So at this point, I think we're still good. We have enough capital reserves that we own the company 100% and we decide what's going on. And I am interested in a slow, steady, steadfast growth, just like our products are. And so at this point, I don't see us partnering with a private equity firm. I mean, of course, if someone comes to you and says, I'll give you $100 million for your company to invest in for 50%, of course you're going to think about it. At this point, we never had an offer, so it's something we don't think about. And I never grew this like one of those companies that you see a lot now, where people just grow it to be bought out by a bigger company. That was never my goal. I just wanted to do what I love and produce products that I really like and I think should be around more and just add more elegance and style to the world. So yeah, we'll see. How many video takes do you shoot normally? Will there ever be an outtakes reel? We shoot videos, usually, we try to shoot them one in a row, simply because it's much more efficient. The lighting is set up, the sound is set up, you're in the groove. It just goes more quickly. So, we create the scripts and then we film one after another, maybe 3, 4 in a day in a session. After a while, it can get tiring and also like standing and stuff, so you have to take a little break. But then we just let the camera run basically. And because of the script, I can go over it, and sometimes you say the same word wrong over and over again, which is quite funny, and we could actually do an outtakes reel, so I'll pass it on to the editor to do that. But we try to keep it flowing and moving. How did you learn so much about clothes? You're not even from a fashion background. That's true. My background is in law, but just because you train something doesn't mean that that's your passion. For some reason, when I was in high school, when I was 14, 15, I started with fountain pens. I came across it on eBay. I was big into eBay as a teenager. Back then, you could still sign up for that. And then I found Mont Blanc fountain pens, and they had cufflinks. So cufflinks needed a shirt. So I had, got into shirts, and then, cufflink shirt, you need a nice suit. And at the time, I found this book, Gentleman, from Bernhard Rötzl in Germany, which was a big book, and it talked about, that classic style, and I thought it was fascinating. And then I went on and found other books that were older that I thought, had even a lot more information. And so it just became my hobby. And if something is your hobby and you're interested, reading it is not like work, it's fun. So I just kept reading more, meeting with craftsmen. And so my knowledge grew over time. And then, like I said, I got this library, those magazines, I found those, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. These patterns, that color combination, why is that not around anymore? What's going on? Like all I can see is H&M and Esprit and stuff that I, didn't really connect with. So that's how I learned so much about it. It was basically self-taught. And I have to say, I'm a good personality for that. I like to learn things and do it myself. So I didn't know anything about the internet really or WordPress. I mean, I was good with computers, but I had no idea of how things work with websites. So I just learned that by doing it and by understanding what's going on. And it was the same for me with clothes. How do you think your products compare to other luxury brands? I know you say you're the best, but do you believe you outclass brands with heritage, such as Kiton? So, heritage brands, the great thing about it is that oftentimes they have a large history. They had generations of people who have done things a certain way, and there's a lot of knowledge built up. That's usually great, right? And so I didn't have that. I didn't have a great-grandfather who was into clothing, who could teach me all the little details. I had to do all of that work myself by, meeting with craftsmen, understanding how they do things, what the differences are. But in terms of what we think we do in a unique way is that we focus on the quality first. We don't say we want a product that costs $150. No, we take a product and say, hey, we We want to use the best quality materials that we can. We want to have a smart design. We want a classic design. And then, we'll see what it costs, where we price it. And because we're a small company and, we directly market to people, there's no middleman. I think the quality product that we offer, you will pay more if you go with a heritage brand or just a larger name brand, simply because they have a lot bigger overhead. They have retailers in between, and everyone wants to earn, and that's legitimate. But at the same time, that means a higher price for the consumer. I hope that answers your question. Will there be a gentleman's Gazette for women? You'd be surprised. I get that asked a lot because people seem to like that kind of classic, timeless style. Unfortunately, I don't know of any website or YouTube channel that caters to that niche. And personally, I just don't know enough about women's clothing to do that. Also, women's clothing inherently changes a lot more frequently. And so the quality materials they use are a lot lower than for men's in general. And so, it's just not something I'm interested in. I'm not interested in fast fashion or just like low price stuff. And there is a niche for that. There is a market for that. It's just not what I want to do. So I don't think there will be a gentleman's Gazette for women or a ladies' Gazette. But never say never, right? What led you to start producing products? People asking for it and my lack of finding them. I talked about it earlier in the video, so you can go back. I answered it before. What was your first article and favorite article? First article, you can actually go back, and we just republished it recently and made it a lot better, was an article about the Panama hat, because at the time I had just bought a original Panama hat from Ecuador. And it's called Panama hat, but the best ones are from Ecuador. And so I thought that was a good first way to start it. Favorite article? Oh boy, that's hard. There's so many good guides that really have a lot of information. For example, the tweet guide is very long and in-depth, and it just covers an entire range of things. But I like the guide articles that we made because I think that's where a lot of work goes in, and they provide a lot of value in terms of knowledge. So I think those are my favorites. Do you design all your products personally? Do you have an R&D team behind you? At this time, yes, I design products. Sometimes I draw things or I show pictures of old things, and then I have people who make it into the actual design. But yes, I drive the colors behind it and where I want it to be and the size of it and what we want to do and the colors. As we grow, I will have to hire someone who has that same design philosophy as I do, and where we connect and do that. That's definitely something. But at this point, there is no R&D team behind me. It's me. Fashion illustrations. Why do you use them and how do you find them? I think it's a lost art. And oftentimes they are just over-exaggerated, meaning that people have very long torsos and relatively short legs. It was just a stylized idea of what fashion should look like. I love them because they are oftentimes, a little more edgy for the time, but they're well put together. They show nice patterns, and they show the color combinations and the proportions of the crown of the hat, for example. And you can just see much more detail in it sometimes. Also the fit, it's ideal. If you go out on the street and you have 100 bespoke suits, only one is really truly perfect and the others are so. With an illustration, you can get it right 100% of the time. And I just think at the time, photos sometimes were not of that highest quality. So if someone was wearing, a morning coat, it was just all black and you can't see the details. With the illustration, you can see everything. And it's also like the artistic aspect of it. So I find them in old magazines. So I've done research and find stuff in libraries, or I just bought them, from eBay, and then I collect them and digitize them and group them all together and try to see patterns, of designs that were, in the US and in England and in Italy at the same time. It's quite interesting to see and understand that. What have you done to get so good at speaking, especially with little or no prep? It is simply a talent, or have you had practice to acquire it? Well, look at my first video, and you'll see that it really wasn't always like that. I just learned what I had to do to retain people more, because in YouTube, you can see if people kind of watch your video and at what point they drop off. So I could go back and see, hey, what did I say that made them go away? Overall, I think, yes, I'm a communicator. I like talking to people, but you still have to remind yourself, not to, and this is a topic I love talking about. It's about close. You're not asking me about accounting, for example. That would be a very different ballgame. But once I know about a topic, and I consider myself an expert in it, I'm good. Yeah, I can just talk. And I think having all the articles and having all that structure helps, because we know that breaking things up and having headings and having bullet points just helps you consume the information much better. And having that in mind trains you, maybe also in law school, on the one hand, on the other end, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. I still ramble at times, so I'll try to keep it short and to the point. Will GG venture into the market of image consulting? Good question. When we started Fort Belvedere, at the time, we had some very good customers, and I did that one-on-one image consulting. The problem is it requires a lot of time to do it right. I need to understand, what is your social position? What events do you attend? What sports do you go to? What job do you have? What circles are you in? Where do you want to be in? What is the goal? You have to understand all of those facets. And people are not always necessarily telling you why they want to dress well. Maybe it's because they want to be recognized more or respected more at work. Or maybe it's a self-confidence thing. But people aren't going to tell you, I want to dress better because I'm self-confident. So you have to dig deeper and understand it. Then you have to analyze their current wardrobe, see what has to go, what can stay. So and in the end, it requires a lot of time to do it right. And in that same time, I could have done other things. I could have developed new products. I could have made new videos, helped a lot of men at the same time. So by the time all is said and done, I need to charge a very high rate for doing personal image consulting. So it makes sense for me and for our business. And then it's too high for most people to do that because they could just come to our website and learn about it themselves in a way. So maybe if we had a certification process where we did image consultings, I could see us doing that. But me personally doing that is probably not going to happen because it's simply not cost effective. Do you want to collaborate with other companies? Collaborations, I think, can be really cool if you find companies where things align perfectly. And so, you can probably see on our website, we don't have many sponsored posts. Very rarely we have some ads, but we only work with companies if we think it is a really, really, really perfect fit. Otherwise, we just turn away the $10,000 or however much they offer because it's just not worth it, and we feel we would disappoint your trust. And I could see us collaborating, with a company for certain products, maybe. And we get a lot of collaboration requests, but oftentimes it just feels to me like they're looking for an outlet to sell more stuff. So if we come across the right product where I feel like, yes, it would make sense to use both of our expertise to come up with something that's truly better, yes, I could see that. But I think it's hard. Is that someone on your logo? Good question. It's actually an old-fashioned illustration of a guy in white tie, and I used it, and then an illustrator, traced it and changed it a little bit and made that kind of oval shape out of it. So it's a fictional fashion illustration person, not a real person. What part of your business puts out the most money? Ad money or Fort Belvedere Products? It's interesting. When we started, most of the money came from advertising. We didn't have products, and that was kind of the model. And I thought, oh, wow, if I have this advertiser, if I get 10 more, I make 10 times the revenue. Well, the problem is, not all advertisers pay. The first advertiser we had, he wanted a long-term contract, and then he just stopped paying. So you have that side of things, and then trying to sue for the money, can be costly too. So then we had the products, and that required a lot of upfront capital investment, but now it allows us to get scalable money. For example, people can shop 24/7, right, from around the world. So even when we sleep, people can buy things in Australia, and so we make money, which is very nice. Also, I can focus on creating a product and then create it and then redo it and stock it and build systems with a warehouse where other people can do things and we can still make money. If we do, let's say, a sponsored post, for example, I have to be involved with it. I have to talk to people. And it's just something I don't enjoy as much. I much rather focus my energy on the things I truly love rather than, doing something and then you have another person's point of view. And so you all have to manage that. And so I find that more frustrating. So I'm building the Gentleman's Gazette, to be completely independent. In the sense, we have income from YouTube, we have ad income, we have lots of pillars of income, so we don't rely on just one thing, but we can do exactly what we want, say what we want, and I would say, yes, the most revenue is generated by product. And for other people, it may be different. If you talk to Jose Zuniga from Teaching Men's Fashion, he must be doing, 10 sponsored videos a month or more. And he could probably do 100 if he would accept all of the things. But it's just something that works for him. He tried the physical products, and he felt like it wasn't worth it for him at all. Aaron Marino, from Alpha M, he does lots of sponsored posts. Antonio Centeno as well. But Aaron also has physical products. So it seems like everyone eventually goes towards a physical product. Antonio has lots of digital products. We have some digital products. But oftentimes people are not, willing to pay for something, let's say, an ebook or a course, even though they would save a lot of time and it would save them, $1,000, $2,000, or maybe even $10,000, they still feel the $100 upfront investment is not worth it because they feel, I can maybe get it for free somewhere. And sometimes you can find bits and pieces of information somewhere, but it's just going to take you a lot of time to understand how it all fits together. And I find a lot of people don't value their time a lot. So yeah, that's a problem. We're at 40 minutes now. I think we can go for 5 more minutes or even longer if there are more questions. So keep them coming. If we answered everything, then yeah, there's no need to continue. But if you have any questions, please let us know. Have you considered having original illustration for your articles? Yes, and I've been approached by some illustrators. The problem is, the kind of style is different, and everyone has their style, and they can do cool things. It just is a lot of work to create an illustration rather than doing good pictures, for example. And then it's also, costly. So the ROI, I don't necessarily see, because if you spend, $600, $700, $800, maybe $1,000 on a set of illustrations for an article, you have to see, well, how do I make this money back? And it can be quite costly. And we'd have to test, to what extent people really prefer the illustrations over the photograph. So I would like to do it if I had the right illustrator approach us. That has that idea of clothes, because otherwise, they may be good illustrators, but they don't understand really clothes details. So maybe they're, doing the tuxedo outfit with a guy in a top hat, which is wrong, and I don't want that. So then I need to babysit that person. I need to invest a lot of time, and that's not kind of the goal I want to pursue. Plus, there's so many great unpublished vintage fashion illustrations that have that nostalgic effect and have that attention to detail that, I think we'll stick with that for now. Will shirt subs come to Fort Belvedere? Yes, I want to offer them. I want to offer full dress sets, shirt studs, waistcoat buttons, and cufflinks. So I think it's a lost art, basically. And the other day at Sotheby's, there was an incredible selection of cufflinks from an aristocratic person in London. And they also had nice dress sets and stuff. And I think it just really changes the look of your tux or your white tie ensemble. It's just really great. Why don't you sponsor Aaron or Antonio's video? Well, like a sponsored video with Aaron costs like $20,000. Since I know him and he's a friend, he'd do it for less, probably $10,000. And it's still, it's a lot of money. And I may give it a try at some point in time, simply because they have a large audience and they know what they're doing. I don't know if it's 100%, a key fit for it, but at the end of the day, you have to try it basically. With Antonio, I think there's a fair amount of overlap. I could try working with him as well and see, what sales it basically generates. But for us, it's also like, hey, I could pay Aaron $10,000, to make one video, or we could take that money, and make maybe 10 videos ourselves. What ROI is better in a way, right? I mean, yes, I would reach a different audience because it's a larger audience, but you always have to weigh things up against each other, and $10,000 is a lot of money, so you want to think about it carefully. Winter socks from GG in the future, yes. I want to add some wool socks to the lineup. That being said, I'm wearing our current socks in winter as well because I'm usually in an inside environment. I don't walk around outside too much, but it's something that we're planning to do. So well, thank you very much for joining us here today. If there were other questions that I didn't answer, it was because they didn't pertain to Gentleman's Gazette. We've just found that we need to limit what questions we answer because otherwise it's too much, it's too overwhelming, and it's not helpful for people because it's just all over the place. But we'll do, specific Q&As for maybe like shoes or shoe polishing. So you can ask very detailed questions, and everyone who comes to that session really gets a lot of value out of it. Lots of style questions. It means we'll do more style Q&As. Maybe, on a regular basis, maybe like once a month, have a style Q&A for people, because that way people can benefit. If you have a questions, I always suggest search first on the website, because we have lots of articles and lots of guys, like I said, 1,000. So chances that we covered what you're asking about, that we covered already, are quite high. So thank you very much. Stay tuned. Now that we're in a new space here, we're going to start filming a lot more. And thanks again for coming to the Gentleman's Gazette. And if you know someone that maybe would like what we do, please, tell them about us or just share it on your social media channel. If you've bought products from us, leave a review. All of these things help us to broaden our reach and just help more men so that we can do cooler things, better videos, higher production quality, and more Q&A sessions. Thanks, and have a wonderful day.